Hello and welcome to another episode of Wildness and Wellbeing. I'm Tim Jones, also known as Adventure Yeti, and today I'm here with my friend Jess Hindley, who is an avid hiker. She's part of the Riverdance production and travels all around the world, and she's a personal trainer and mindfulness coach. So, Jess, how's it going?
It's going great, thanks. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful weather, finally. Right at the end of the summer, typical. But yeah, it's going great. Been at a charity event today, so no hiking this weekend, unfortunately, but...
Do you want to tell us about the charity event?
Yeah, so it was for my friend's son, who unfortunately is disabled, and they have a charity for him called Carter's Courage. They do a fun day every year to raise some money towards his treatment and his therapies. And he's actually going to Canada next week for a week.
Wow.
or 2 weeks of intense therapy. But yeah, it's quite a sad story, but they're doing their absolute best for him, to make sure he's got the best care and treatment. So yeah, but it was a fun day. I was working on the basketball shoot.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So yeah, it was a nice day and sun was shining for it. So
yeah, I'm hoping we're actually going to get summer now.
I know, eventually. I know. We were lucky that day though at Helvellyn, weren't we?
Yeah, no, that was so lush.
Yeah.
And meeting the hikers, it was the Ashton.
The Ashton Hiking Club. Yeah, that was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And their drone footage.
Yeah.
It's just me and you.
Kind of gate crashing
like...
a little bit.
Yeah, definitely gate crashing. But yeah, it was a great day.
I guess it's not such an outdoors thing, but the Riverdance is a huge production.
Yeah.
How did you get into it?
So I have been Irish dancing since I was 6 years old. We have some Irish heritage on my mum's side of the family. My mum's grandparents were Irish, so my mum has always loved the Irish culture and loved Riverdance when it was on the Eurovision, like 30 years ago now. And our friends are half Irish as well, our family friends, and they have 3 girls in their family and I have 2 sisters, so we were all sort of friends, and we just all kind of went along together to Irish dancing classes all those years ago when I was 6 years old, and it just became my thing, really, like something I was really passionate about. I just loved it, and I was the only one who kind of stuck with it through all the years, and I was competing till I was 26, so 20 years of competition. Which was a long old journey, but I kept going until I achieved my lifelong dream of becoming a world champion, and then decided to go professional shortly after that. My teachers were in Riverdance when I was young, so we went to watch them in the show, and ever since then I always wanted to be in Riverdance, but I kind of thought I had missed the boat a little bit for it, because a lot of people go into the show when they're like 20 or even younger, some of them, whereas I kept competing till I was 26. So but I auditioned and I got in, and yeah, it was just it was something I always wanted to do. It's a bit of a unique hobby, I guess, but I just loved it from the very beginning and just stuck with it, really. And yeah, I got so close to winning the world so many times that I just kind of kept going and going and going until I finally did it. And then yeah, Riverdance was the next step after that, and I was lucky enough to get in, but that was like just before COVID as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so finally achieved that dream of getting in to the show, and I was on a tour of Ireland and the UK when lockdown happened.
Oh,
yeah,
that's not good.
No, so we all obviously had to come home, and I felt like I had finally achieved that dream, and then suddenly it was like taken away. And at first we were like, oh, maybe we'll just have a few weeks off and then go back on tour, but obviously it lasted years, didn't it? A couple of years. So yeah, that was a tough time. But
how did you kind of deal with that?
So it was really hard at first. I think that was probably the time in my life when I've suffered most with my mental health. Being a dancer was still is a huge part of my identity. So when that was all taken away, and I felt like I had had my dream like just ripped away from me. It sounds dramatic, but when you work so hard for something and it finally happens.
Yeah, totally.
But I was living with my mum, so we were sort of our supporting each other during lockdown. So she was there for me a lot, and just tried to stay positive and, go on as many walks and stuff as I can. And I think that really opened my eyes to the fact that, my dancing career is not going to last forever. And I've always been passionate about the outdoors as well. And I think during lockdown, that really opened my eyes to that as well, as something to almost move on to, after I can't dance anymore. I'm nearly 31 now, so the dancing's getting harder and harder. So
how long how long is a career of a dancer?
It varies. In Riverdance, the oldest are probably in their mid-30s.
Okay.
But most of them are very young. On the tour that I did earlier in the year, I was actually the oldest.
Oh, wow.
So I did a tour of Europe. We did Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, and Belgium for 2 months. And yeah, I was the oldest at 30. A lot of them were a lot younger than me on that tour. And I do want to settle down as well. As amazing it is to travel, and it is really tough, it's tough physically and mentally as well, because you're away from home, away from your family and friends. So yeah, do want to sort of settle down soon, I think. So
how do you deal with it mentally when you're away from home and stuff like that? Because it must be really intense. I mean, how, like, in terms of your week when you're away, how many days are you dancing, and how long for?
So it varies a little bit, but we usually do about 7 shows a week. So we only get 1 day off usually, or 2 days maximum, but usually only 1 day. Yeah. So it is tough mentally. You're just exhausted all the time as well. So that's tough as well, but deal with it. You make really good friends, in the troupe. So, you all support each other, and I still keep up with like listening to my favorite podcasts and reading books and things like that. That's what I probably lean into, and I usually try and keep a journal as well, which I like doing too, just to get the thoughts out and try and bring home as much as possible, because you can easily let a week pass by without speaking to home unless you make the effort.
Yeah, I have found journaling has probably been one of the key tools that's really helped me kind of in the last couple of years, especially just getting those thoughts out and writing them on paper and working them out. And I've kind of got used to a little bit getting outdoors and journaling at the same time, because I think the two come hand in hand.
I don't think I've ever done that. That is a really nice idea. Yeah.
I think give it a go.
Yeah, combining the two best mental health techniques, being outdoors and journaling. Yeah, I like that. But yeah, it's always good to get your thoughts down, I think, because sometimes they can just keep circling around your mind, can't they? And then just getting them out always helps. Just working through them.
So you kind of COVID started opening you up to the outdoors. How did that kind of where did you start? What did you start doing? Like, did you go on group hikes, or did you just go out alone?
Yeah, so I have always loved the outdoors. Like, my dad's very outdoorsy. We've always gone on walks since we were kids together. But as I've got older, and particularly during lockdown, I just realized how good it was for my mental health, and how calm it made me feel when I was outdoors. So yeah, I've always been into hiking, but after lockdown, and when we eventually could like meet up and things again, I decided I wanted to try outdoor photography at first. That I had that in my head, that I wanted to try outdoor photography. It's not really happened, but
Did you get a camera?
No, I did this online course where you learn how to use your iPhone properly for like landscape photography.
Yeah, with the
So I was like, I'll
settings,
just try
yeah.
that first, and if I really enjoy it, then maybe I'll invest in a camera. I was like, don't be too impulsive.
Yeah.
Test it out first. So I started doing a little bit of that, and then that meant that I discovered the Instagram hiking world,
Yeah.
which I didn't even know existed, which has been a really nice way of meeting people. And through that, I started going on a few group hikes. But that was only about a year ago that I started going on group hikes and meeting up with people. But it's been really good. You know, it's always good to, you know, you meet people that you probably would never have come across, you know,
Yeah.
before. And you meet so many different types of people, which I love doing. Like, I love meeting new people. So, yeah, it's been really good.
Well, I think I have been on a Lost Explorers hike with you, haven't I?
Yeah.
I think it was...
Yeah, that was the first time we met, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was Mole Saibod? I don't know how you say it.
Mole Shabod.
Mole
Yes.
Shabod.
That's the
Completely
first
wrong.
time we met. I was trying to think, when did we first
Yeah.
meet? That was a really good hiking
That was
weekend.
really nice.
That
Yeah,
was
and
a
we
bit-
camped, didn't we?
Yeah,
Afterwards.
it was a bit of a whirlwind, though. The weather-wise.
Yeah, we
like,
had all weathers in a day, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, was it February or it was maybe later?
I think it was a bit later than that.
Yeah, because I remember
now.
it's the hottest. It was like the hottest day of the year so far,
Yeah.
and we were basking in it. And we did a nice hike, and then we chilled and just chilling in the sun. And the next day, it was an absolute
Absolutely chucking it down.
yeah. And
A washout. Yeah.
yeah, your tent was leaking.
Yeah. A little bit.
I ended up car camping at the end of it, I think.
yeah.
Which I was a little bit relieved of. I don't think I could have done another night camping after.
No, not in that rain.
We were proper wet.
Yeah, we were drenched. It tested out all of our waterproofs that day, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think we got a few selfies actually.
Yeah.
We
Looking
looked
like drowned
pretty-
rats.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun though, and we went to that
Yeah.
cabin as well on the.
Yeah, there's something therapeutic, I think, about hiking in the rain. I don't.
Yeah.
Some people will probably think I'm crazy for saying that, but even when I'm on my own sometimes and I go for a walk in the rain, as long as you've got your waterproofs on, and just sort of being outside and it's raining, and as long as you're dry underneath.
So the personal training and mindfulness coaching, was it the COVID pandemic and how you dealt with it? Basically, what led to you starting to do that?
Yeah, so I've had a bit of an interesting career so far in terms of jobs. So I actually studied to be an accountant.
Oh wow!
Yeah, before COVID. So worked for one of the big 4 accountancy firms, did my degree through them, my professional exams, became chartered, all whilst still competing in dancing. So most of my 20s, I actually was working as an accountant, but just something inside me just knew it wasn't the career for me. It was really hard to step away from it because when you've worked so hard to achieve something, to qualify, you spent all those years, you know, when everybody's sort of building their experience, building their career, really. I then decided to step away from it. So just before COVID, it was about 8 months before, I decided to leave my job as an accountant and pursue that dream of dancing professionally. And in between dancing professionally, I was also teaching workshops to dancers. So at this point, I wasn't actually a personal trainer, but I was sort of teaching dance workshops and teaching some mindset as well. So it's kind of dance specific mindset. So when I was competing in the last few years, I had an amazing mindset coach who helped me with sort of, you know, the mental side of dance and competing and, you know, dealing with the pressure and nerves. And that was the first time I had really sort of been introduced to that side of things, and I feel like it made such a big difference to me as a dancer and as a person as well. You know, it really sort of opened my eyes to mindfulness as well as the dance mindset side of things. So because it made such a big difference for me, I've been quite passionate about trying to pass that on to other dancers as well. But then obviously COVID happened. So as I said, had to come home from a tour and came home and I was like, what do I do now? Do I wait it out and try and wait until there's another opportunity? But that obviously didn't happen because lockdown went on for a lot longer than what was expected. So I was like, no, I need to go back to accountancy. So I had to go back to accountancy, even though I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. But, it's a well-paid job and it's very stable. And, I have, it's a good job. It wasn't for me. But I had to go back to it temporarily whilst COVID was happening. But again, I just got to that point with it that I just thought, this isn't for me. There's just no point in prolonging it. So then I decided to fully leave that career and do my personal training qualification during lockdown, because I had a lot more time on my hands, as everyone did.
Yeah.
And that was when I studied for that and qualified as a PT. So now I try and do both the fitness side of things and the mindset side of things with dancers. Obviously the two go hand in hand, and it's about having them enjoy their dancing career a lot more. And it's not just about dance, it's teaching them tools to help deal with real life problems as well. Lots of the dancers that I've worked with, a lot of them are young, the kids or teenagers, and their parents have said, you've made a big difference to them. You've not just helped them in dance, you've taught them things that they can use in real life as such, as well. So it's something I'm really passionate about, and it's really rewarding, and a lot more up my street than accountancy. But as I say, huge respect for anybody who is an accountant. It's a great, steady, good job, and it opens lots of doors, but just wasn't for me, I guess.
I guess it goes down to whether you enjoy it. And I think there's a bit of a link there between what you just said about it wasn't right for you. You wanted to do something different, but then also what you're doing that's different is you're actually helping other dancers to actually enjoy what they're doing a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there's just a big thing actually post-COVID as well. I think there's a really big thing about just doing what you love and what you want to do, and following your dreams. And I know it's a cliche, a saying that everyone says, but you've got to be happy.
Absolutely.
It's about actually doing something that you really love, and actually something that for you makes a difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Gives you that purpose then, you know, to actually, get up in the morning and, be excited to, do the thing that earns you money, Yeah,
and big respect for doing that.
Yeah,
that must have been... How nerve-wracking was it for you to just I guess, I don't know how gradual you did it, but just end one career and go into something, jump into something new?
It was definitely a big step. But I was living with my mum at the time, and I was coming home from work and just being upset and crying and, suffering. And then I would be making excuses like I shouldn't be upset because this is a great job and there's nothing wrong with it. But for me, something inside me was just getting louder and louder and louder, just saying that this isn't for you. And I started my personal training business whilst I was still working as an accountant. So I was able to build that up before taking the step. So that was a bit of a tough period because I was like working all day as an accountant and then coming home and teaching clients in the evening. But it was important for me to sort of get some experience before I made the jump. And then I'm also lucky that my mum has her own business, and I do some work for her as well, so that helps to supplement the income as well, and have that sort of steady income too. And even though it was a big decision, there are always going to be jobs in accountancy if I need them, if I ever decide to go back. And I was working at the NHS at the time. I went to the NHS thinking that might be a bit more rewarding as an accountant, to feel like you're working for a purpose more, which it was, but only to a certain extent. You're still, on a laptop all day, every day, or doing Excel spreadsheets and all that side of things. But my team there were great, and they were just such lovely people, which almost made it worse because I didn't want to leave because I felt bad. But they were good in saying, if you ever change your mind, you can always come back. So even though it was a risk, I had a lot to fall back on, and my family are really supportive as well. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So even though it was a big jump, there wasn't as much risk as what it sounds like. So I'm glad I did it.
So I guess with the mindfulness side of dancing, what does that entail? What do you work with your clients?
So I work on mindset in training, so helping them set goals and work towards them, and have a routine and have a plan towards achieving their dreams. And I try and take some of the emphasis off the end result at these competitions and just have them set smaller goals along the way to try and achieve week to week in terms of their own training, which really helps with their sort of mindset, as I call it. Because, if they know that they've done everything that they can to be the best that they can be, then that takes a bit more pressure off competition then, and just has them enjoying the process a little bit more. And then in terms of the competition side of things, I help them with their mindset on the day of a competition. So trying to make sure they're not putting too much pressure on themselves, dealing with nerves, going through, mindset tools to help them stay positive during competitions, trying to make them not worry about things that they can't control and just sort of focus on themselves. I always chat to them about the law of attraction as well. So
okay, what's that?
Yeah, so the theory's from a book called The Secret, which is a very well-known book, a self-help book by Rhonda Byrne, and it's all about how like attracts like. So in the context of dance, I always try and make sure that they are staying positive so that attracts more positivity on the day of a competition. So, I had competitions where I put so much pressure on myself, and if one thing went wrong, I'd let it affect my mindset for the rest of the competition. And it's like, when you have a bad day and it seems like it's one thing after another that goes wrong. It's trying to avoid that and helping them with a few tools to be able to just stay positive and try and enjoy it. I always get them to write down their worries. We do a bit of journaling together, write down their worries and break them down into, right, what can we control about that, what can't we control, and just sort of focusing on what you can control, which is an important tool to do in life.
Definitely.
It's something that I do myself. If I've got something that I'm nervous for now, I try and journal with similar techniques, just to sort of bring the focus back to yourself and stop worrying about external people or external situations that you can't control. So
well, I guess you also kind of, it's almost first hand for you, because I mean, the Riverdance is I remember since a kid, it's just such a big production, and there must be just so much pressure there. I mean, do you ever are there ever mishaps or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, there are. And, you know, you're only human. You make mistakes, and I don't take that lightly. You know, I
Yeah.
always take it to heart if I make a mistake because it frustrates me so much. But you're only human. Like, these things happen. But there is a lot of pressure. I think for the dancers who've been in the show for years and years and years, you almost go on like autopilot, you know, when you're performing. So it's easy for your brain to sort of just switch off for a second and something goes wrong. Yeah, there is a lot of pressure because Riverdance is the pinnacle for an Irish dancer, really. You know, it's 30 years old nearly now, and has had so much success that it's almost every dancer's dream to be in Riverdance or Lord of the Dance. The two are probably the biggest dance shows. So there's a lot of competition, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's always somebody else there waiting to take your spot if you know, you don't live up to expectations.
How do you focus? I mean, so you know, what's the drill? What's kind of build up to show, and you know, how before you perform, you know, what's the average day before you perform? Performance day, I guess.
It varies when you're on tour because you could be traveling that day and just arrive at the venue a couple of hours before the show.
Wow,
and
that's intense.
Yeah, it's really intense. And then sometimes you finish the show and they drive you on to the next place. But you know, when you have got a day somewhere before the show, we usually like go for some lunch, you know, have quite a chill day really. It's hard because you want to see a lot of these places, but you're so tired and you don't have that much time in each place. But try and you know, get out to see places as much as we can. But before the show, we usually have what we call rotations, where all of the cast will go on stage and sort of mark out the dances. So everyone has different positions and we go through the positions, and they change every night depending on who the lead dancers are as well. So it rotates. So you could be in a different spot each night. So we spend about an hour going over that. So not actually dancing it usually, but sort of walking through things. So that's quite a good way to mentally prepare because you're getting to sort of mark out the dances before you actually do them.
Yeah.
Obviously the girls then have to spend a lot of time doing the hair and makeup, that side of things. And then just before the show, you have to get your costumes, make sure your costumes are where they're supposed to be, and just sort of prepare yourself. I usually like to just take a quiet minute before the show just to sort of make sure I'm feeling good, and you know, I've ran through everything in my head as well. Do some visualization always helps before the show. And then we usually do a group warm up as well, which is nice, you know, get everyone energized together before we all go on stage together. What's
a kind of warm up like? What do you do? Is it moving around, or is it?
Yeah, so we normally do it on stage or backstage actually on tour. So somebody normally leads it every day. So one of the dancers will take it, and it could be anything. Sometimes we just have fun with it, do like learn a dance or something, or you know, if I did it, I'd do a warm up that I'd normally do with my PT clients, and just put some music on and do lots of stretches and get the body moving. Really.
Nice. Have you got any shows lined up now with Riverdance?
Yeah, so I'm doing a week in Jordan in a couple of weeks' time.
Nice.
Yeah, somewhere that I've never been before. It's crazy where Irish dancing can take you to Jordan. So we're just doing a few shows there, so just there for 1 week. Then after that, I'm not sure. I'm also, me and my friend Ryan have started our own little troupe of dancers as well.
Okay.
Who do like corporate events, weddings, any performances that people need Irish dancers for. It's called Sonus Irish Dance, if anyone wants to follow us on Instagram. And I've just loved doing that. You know, it's like our own little project with Ryan, my best friend, who we learnt to dance together, and we're really close. So just creating something together, creating our own choreography and designing everything ourselves has just been amazing. So I've got that side of things as well to focus on now as I probably come to the end of my touring journey. With Riverdance. It's nice to have something else to sort of still be being creative with dance and having our own thing to keep going now in the future. And I'll probably get to a point where I'm not dancing anymore, but hopefully we can still arrange these performances because it's been really good so far. I've had a lot of success so far. So
nice.
Yeah, probably gonna have to settle down at some point, but that's a good way of keeping the dancing going and not being away on tour all of the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's really important to have your own, no matter what you do for a living or anything like that, just have that side project.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, something that you're passionate about as well. Brings a lot of joy to us. We've loved it. So yeah.
Hiking wise, bucket list. Or not hiking wise, what's on the bucket list adventure wise?
Adventure wise, I would love to go to Canada and
do you know what? That's
go
on my
hiking
list
in Canada.
too.
Yeah, let's go.
Should we go? Mate, I'm serious. Let's do it.
It looks amazing, doesn't it? Norway as well is on my list.
Northern Lights and stuff like that, yeah.
It looks really beautiful. I'd also like to travel Ireland. Like, I've obviously spent quite a lot of time there, but I don't feel like I've seen it because I've always been at a competition or in a theatre or wherever. But Ireland's just beautiful, and I don't feel like I've seen it. And it's obviously a special place for me. But
yeah, definitely.
I'd love to just get a van and just
because
spend a few weeks.
Is
traveling.
it the Atlantic Way there?
Yeah, the Wild Atlantic Way.
The Wild Atlantic Way.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really nice, like down all the west coast. Yeah, that's another thing about like touring, when you can like see the mountains from the tour bus window, and I'm like, I'd just love to be up there. Like when I was traveling Europe earlier in the year, and you could see like the Alps and like Austria, the mountains in Austria. It was just
yeah. No, that sounds like a good bucket list. What key tool has helped you the most on your journey, mental health wise?
So I'd say books has probably been the most useful tool for me in terms of learning about mental health, getting different perspectives, different tools, reading about both the sort of spiritual side of mental health, so like the law of attraction and that sort of thing, but then also the maybe more scientific side as well. I recently read a book written by a therapist called Dr. Julie, I think her name is, on Instagram. And her book was called, what was it? It was How Have I Never Been Told This Before, I think it is.
Okay.
Something like that. And it was all about, you know, she was a therapist in the NHS, and she was meeting people who didn't really know simple tools that they could use to deal with their mental health. And so, yeah, reading, you know, sort of that side of things as well. I think books can just, you can always learn something every time you read a book. I love that. And it's something that takes me away from technology. So yeah, books help me learn things and also get me away from my phone as well as a source of information. Give your eyes a rest from looking at technology as well, you know. Yeah, I'd say podcasts as well is another huge thing that's helped me. Yeah, podcasts have been a big one for me, and hearing other people's stories always helps you with your own. And again, I like learning things as well, so I always put a podcast on when I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
Which again is another good thing for your mental health.
Totally.
The exercise side of things.
yeah, so I guess that's it. But thank you, Jess, for coming along.
You're welcome.
Um,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, what's your Instagram handle again?
So my outdoorsy one is jess.goes.outdoors. My personal training page is Coach Jess Hindley. And people can just get in touch with me via that page.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jess.
You're welcome.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to say a big thank you for tuning in to this podcast. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and also feel free to send me any ideas that you may have for future podcasts. I'll catch you all soon. Bye.